Hey everyone, thanks for joining. This is the Net Plus Digital Minute, Protect and Grow Your Business with Paid Search webinar. We're going to give it another couple minutes just to see who else hops on, and then we'll get started. All right, can everybody hear me okay? Please let me know if you can't. My name is Elias Shulkin. I'm with Net Plus, and this is our Digital Minute presentation of the Protect and Grow Your Business with Paid Search webinar. So we're going to get started here, and feel free to ask questions at any time. And we will also have a Q&A section at the end as well. So this is just a little bit of background on myself. I've been in digital marketing for about 8 years now, and I've worked with a whole variety of different businesses, from e-commerce to lead driving for lawyers, finance professionals, doctors, dentists, etc. And I've had just a whole variety of different clients that have been really successful with paid search. So today we're going to be exploring what paid search is, why it's so important for your business, and really dig into the different ways that you can find some quick wins in paid search today and how to get started with the process. So what is paid search? Let's start with the basics here. So one of the questions that I always get from clients is how to differentiate between paid search and organic search. And I think it's really important to note here that the organic search results and paid search results look very, very similar, and that's actually by design. So what Google wants is for the searcher to have a difficult time differentiating the ads. So as you can see, the only designation here, if you were to search for New Balance, is the little green ad symbol on the bottom left there. So this is what's known as a text ad. Basically, you're allocated 3 headlines and 2 description areas to basically just outline why somebody should click through to your website, whether it's the description of a product, the description of a service, a description of your business as a whole. Whatever it is, the idea is to drive as much interest as possible and really explain what sets your brand apart in kind of an elevator pitch transferred into a text ad. So some of the other areas of paid search include Google Shopping, and Bing has its own variation of this as well. But these are the ads that you'll see at the top of mobile, desktop, and tablet search results when you're searching for a specific product, a specific brand that carries physical products. For the most part, this is an e-commerce play. It's based on your internal inventory. It is the go-to strategy for many retailers for selling actual physical product online, product that you typically have stored in a warehouse that you can ship to the customer. One of the ways that we differentiate Google Shopping from traditional text ads is this customer is typically a little bit of a lower funnel customer. And what that means is that they have gone through more of the product research phase. So for example, let's take running shoes. Instead of searching which running shoes are best for trail running, this person is searching men's red trail running shoe, as an example. They know what they want, and they're really more in the buying mode rather than the shopping mode. One of the other great benefits here is you're going to see a little bit of a higher return on investment on average using Google Shopping ads as opposed to text ads when you are specifically advertising physical product and the primary performance indicators of your marketing campaign have to do with your revenue over cost variables. So let's move on here. One of the next most important areas of paid search is display advertising. So one of the really interesting things about display is that it's the most highly visual component of the areas we've discussed so far. So as you saw previously, text ads are just that, plain text. They're not all that exciting. Google Shopping ads, it's just an image of your product against a plain background. Your design team or an agency design team can really dress up display advertising to make it look a little bit more spectacular, whether that's the HTML5 format that moves in a way that you might recognize as a GIF. It could be a lifestyle image. So if you're selling a product, allowing your user to picture themselves using that product at home with friends, family, etc. There's a much wider variety of ad formats you can use. So we're talking about very large banner ads. We're talking about much smaller ads that are optimized for mobile users. And one of the ways that many of my clients have had success using this format is to bring users back to the site. So for example, if a user is on a website and they are looking for a specific legal practice area, let's say maybe immigration law, what we can do is create a variable that retargets that user with a hyper-relevant display ad that brings them back to that specific service line that's available. In the e-commerce world, we can do the same thing with product categories. And the reason that that's important is because they might remember that they were on your website earlier, but they might not remember exactly what they were shopping for or the product that they abandoned in your cart. So it's a really cost-efficient way to bring returning traffic back to your website, whether you're e-commerce or trying to just drive new customer acquisition. And the reason that that's so important is that the lower cost per click wind up turning into a really reasonable cost per customer acquisition. The other side of it is prospecting. Now, prospecting is really interesting to us at NetPlus because it allows us to go out and find users that really haven't interacted with our clients yet. So whether you're talking about somebody that is in the market for a new car, somebody whose shopping behavior suggests that they might start looking for a new car soon, somebody that has taken another action, whether it could be filing for a mortgage or opening a new line of credit, any of these actions can help us put together a buyer persona that really is very hyper-targeted to that industry. And it helps us to look at the different categories that Google has available and to say, hey, this person is going to be needing legal services, wealth management services, any number of different services or products soon. How can we get our ads in front of them and position ourselves to really provide them with the kind of content that helps their decision-making process easier when they're looking for an expert? So let's move on here. So now I think it's a great time to differentiate what the differences are between the different search engines. Google takes about 70 to 80% of market share, depending on the industry. And, you know, any advertiser worth their salt absolutely needs to be on Google in, you know, the different varieties that we presented earlier, with the exception of Google Shopping if you don't have physical product. Bing across most industries takes about 30% of search engine volume. So Google and Bing in most industries combine to take anywhere from 80 to 90% of the total search volume. However, if you sell physical product, Amazon has about 50% of the product-based searches. Now, it's a little counterintuitive because product-based searches really only take up about 5% of total internet searches, at least according to 2018 data. But why that's so interesting is because, the Amazon user is much lower funnel, meaning they're much closer to making an actual buying decision rather than being in the information gathering process. YouTube is another really interesting one, and it actually skews the opposite direction of Amazon as a search engine. A lot of the people going onto YouTube are looking for information, they're looking for product reviews, they're looking to see information and videos from content influencers and people that are, bigger names within their particular industry. And I think it's really relevant because depending on what industry you're in, a lot of the initial search volume does begin on YouTube, especially if some of your clients, customers, etc., are a little bit of a younger demographic. And then we have Yahoo, which is a search engine that many have forgotten. But for many of our clients, Yahoo is a nice way to drive some incremental revenue or incremental customer acquisition in a way that certainly won't affect your bottom line quite as much as Google or Bing. But if you're looking for 4, 5, 6% in terms of just overall growth for your brand, Yahoo is a channel that should definitely be explored, especially because so many of your major advertising efforts can be ported over directly from Google or Bing to Yahoo. One additional note is that almost all of the YouTube advertising options available can be driven directly through Google's paid search tools. So it's really a one-stop stop for paid search advertising when it comes to the Google tool suite. Let's move on here. So we covered some of Amazon, but let's dig into the specifics a little bit. The Amazon user tends to be much more in the buying than shopping phase. And if you're selling physical product, this is really important because your users will have a higher conversion rate compared to Google, Bing, or really anywhere else. There are some trade-offs that I think are really important to discuss. Most importantly, Amazon does not have the level of advertising that Google does in terms of advanced targeting options, the ability to reach users at all different steps of the buying and shopping funnels. It doesn't have an ability to prospect users, as we discussed earlier with Google Display, and really find users that are starting the journey to finding a product or service. What Amazon does give you is the ability to just drive a lot of revenue in a very short time frame once you're up and running on the platform. Another important note is that in many circumstances, the Amazon customer stays the Amazon customer. They might have bought running shoes from you, they might have bought a book from you, whatever it might be. If you are a third-party reseller, and in some cases even the manufacturer of the goods in question, the buyer might not ever realize that you were the seller. In many different focus groups conducted, the buyer actually did not realize that they were purchasing from a third-party reseller and just had stated that they received their product directly from Amazon. In many cases, Amazon has created this ecosystem for that very reason, to assure that rather than the customer establishing a long relationship with your brand, they're holding on to that relationship through Amazon, whether it's an Amazon Prime relationship, whether you have your goods stored at an Amazon warehouse and are using their FBA or fulfilled by Amazon services. It's really irrelevant to Amazon. All they want to do is make sure that every single purchase runs through them first. So let's move on a little bit. So we touched on really what the differentiators are between the different paid search networks, but what we didn't really discuss is how the system actually operates. So let's go back to those text ads that we saw previously. And let's say that you are a lawyer, and maybe your law firm is in Center City, Philadelphia, and you want to acquire new customers around DUI cases. So if somebody was to search DUI lawyer Philadelphia, you and all of the other law firms that have chosen to use Google Ads to advertise your services are bidding on that user's click to your website. And that bid is done in real time. So what that means is that there is no manual review of these bids. It is a system that takes each keyword that you want to show up for. So it could be DUI lawyer, DUI attorney, DWI lawyer, all different forms of keywords that you think are essential to your business, and they're given a bid. So say, for example, you set your bid at $5 and your competition has a bid at $6. That means that in many cases, your competition will be featured higher on the page than you will, and they will, also in many cases, actually drive more clicks to the website. Now, this is a traditional bidding system. Google's is actually modified by something known as quality score. So what that means is that the actual experience that the user has on the landing page is absolutely essential to this experience and does influence the auctions. So back to the legal example, if you and another law firm are both bidding on DUI lawyer, and over time, users that come to your website have a better experience, meaning they fill out your contact forms, they convert into a customer, they return back to the website, they dial your phone that's listed on the landing page. All of these actions are a signal to Google that this is a high quality page and that the user is getting a great experience going from the search query they type in, clicking on the associated ad that you've set up to match that search query, and then traveling through to the landing page. An example of where that could go wrong would be if, for example, you were advertising your DUI lawyer landing page on a keyword that maybe just says lawyer, and that is the only designator to find that user. The problem is they are getting an experience they might not have wanted. They won't be using your site in the optimal way, and eventually they'll be bouncing off of your website again, kind of influencing that quality score. The reason the quality score is so important is because you can actually defeat your competition with a lower bid, a lower cost per click, and eventually a lower cost per customer acquired based on having better content. So, when we work with clients on improving their quality scores, the first thing that we think about is, how is this page in terms of user experience? Can they find what they're looking for quickly? Can they get in touch with you with a contact form or a phone number without having to search for it? Is this content something that can be read easily by both search engines and humans? What type of content is on this site? Is this the type of content that helps to inform a user? Is it very salesy? Generally speaking, informative content is going to outrank salesy content 9 times out of 10. It's just something to keep in mind when it comes to actually developing the landing pages, to think to yourself, if I'm going to start a page search program now or in the future, does this content make sense? The other side of the coin, of course, is search engine optimization, meaning how do you rank organically for the content in question? Oftentimes, great content that's developed for SEO will be really useful for a paid search program and vice versa. So for example, back to the legal example again, if somebody clicks through an ad that says best DUI attorney in Philadelphia, and they come to a landing page that has helpful videos like What steps do I take next? I've been arrested for a DUI. How to select a DUI lawyer. What happens if I can't afford to pay for this? How are the fees structured? All the different types of content that user might find difficult to find elsewhere. If you provide that to them, you're creating a service before the service itself. You're establishing yourself as a thought leader. You are establishing yourself as a trust factor, and basically putting yourself out there as somebody that this user can get in touch with to seek more information. And once they do that, it becomes a fortuitous cycle. It keeps them coming back to the website. It gives them a place to send friends or family members that would also like to know about your practice. And really, in terms of paid search, gives Google a reason to keep serving your ads and serving them at a really cost-effective price. So why does your business need paid search? I think we've covered a lot of the reasons why it's effective, but let's keep digging in here. So paid search is effective for a whole different variety of areas, but these are the top 5 as far as we are concerned today. Driving leads. Again, this could be a lawyer, a dentist, a doctor, a wealth management service, a software company, a mobile app. Anybody that's looking for a specific product or service that wants to get in touch with you is considered a lead. Once they fill out that contact form, they can download a white paper, they could give you a call, whatever it might be, whatever way they can get in touch. This could include a live chat function. All of these options are a great way to gauge interest. The next one is selling products, and we've covered this a bit, but it's pretty intuitive. You are sending the searcher to the most relevant product or product category page on your website and trying to get them to directly purchase a product. Now, sometimes, depending on the price of the product, there could wind up being a little bit of a longer buyer latency. So what that means is if you're buying a pair of $30 sunglasses, for many people, that's considered an impulse purchase. They don't have to talk to their family about it. They don't have to spend a few days comparing prices. They like the glasses, they buy them. I actually had a client that was an audio video distributor that sold $10,000 amplifiers. These amplifiers were part of a much larger home theater system. So all we were trying to do with our product ads initially was get into that buyer's consideration set. When they're looking at different prices, different quality options, reading reviews on the different amplifiers, we wanted to make sure that not only did we target them by keyword based on the types of amplifiers they were searching for, but we then retargeted to them using Google Shopping and display advertising. Over time, it became very expensive to keep reaching out to the same customer over and over again. However, because the margins were so high in that particular product, we could spend up to $1,000 to create a new customer and still come out very profitably with the end result. The next area is general brand awareness. Whether you are launching a new brand, a new product, a new service line, whatever it might be, we want to make sure that the most relevant customers and prospective customers are aware of this. Paid search is one of the best and most cost-efficient ways to do that. Of course, social media plays a role as well, but social media is kind of interrupting the user when they're going about their day. They might be looking at cat pictures or commenting on their sister-in-law's baby photos. When we're talking about paid search, in many instances, this is somebody raising their hand and saying, hey, I need this product, I need this service. It might even be an urgent situation. If you're a plumber, it could be 24/7 plumber near me. That's somebody that is looking to make a call right now, get on the phone with somebody, and basically buy that service tonight. Protecting your business. Here's another really interesting area of paid search that many people don't think of. If you have name recognition, especially within a tight geographical region, there will be competitors that are already bidding on your name. And if they're not directly bidding on your name, they might be bidding on the exact services that you offer, and it gives them a massive competitive advantage if you're not protecting your business. So brand protection is one of the major services that we offer our clients, and the reason it's so effective is because those quality scores that we discussed earlier, using landing page relevance as a major ranking factor, are always in your favor when you're running brand protection. So this is something really essential to consider when you're thinking, is paid search right for me? Do a little experiment. Google your own brand's name and the services you offer on mobile and desktop and see if anybody else is bidding on these. In many scenarios, unless the product or service you're offering is really niche, there's probably going to be some competition. But that's okay. Competition shows that they're probably getting a pretty good return on investment from these advertising initiatives that they're undertaking. And it's really important to be competitive, really, no matter what industry you're in. The fifth area is testing new ideas. This could be new buying guides you want to promote. This could be new service lines that you want to make sure prospective and past customers are aware of. This could be different ad copy ideas and brand messaging that you want to try to distribute and see what the general response is. Really, any of these areas are a great opportunity to find out what your customers are looking for and test the market fit. And you can test it by region, you can test it by demographics. So we're talking age, gender, income bracket. One of the great reasons that Google is just so dominant in the advertising space is data collection. Google has been collecting data on pretty much all of us for 20 years now. So at this point, they have so much data moving forward to work with that it really helps to inform our marketing decisions to make sure that we're only getting in front of the users that are most likely to want our products and services. So some paid search use cases. Why would somebody use paid search? What types of industries do use paid search? As you can see here, it's pretty varied across the board. And I mean, we're talking about travel, we're talking about any information resources. So again, buying guides, white papers, etc. Local search, people trying to find that restaurant that they want to eat at on a Friday night, people trying to find the local movie theater. Shopping, I think we covered quite a bit. But we're really talking about almost any industry that isn't completely reliant on trade information is going to be able to benefit from paid search in some way, shape, or form. And many will be able to benefit almost immediately with a great program. We talked quite a bit in detail about driving leads. Recapturing site visitors, again, is very important. In many instances, an advertiser will want to be using Google Analytics. So Google Analytics will show how many website visitors they have, how those site visitors are interacting with their site, what pages they're navigating to, what pages they're bouncing off of and leaving the site on that they're not finding what they need. But one of the statistics that consistently pops up is that a returning user is far more likely to convert on your website than a first-time user. The reason for that is pretty simple. They have more familiarity and trust with your website, and bringing them back into the fold is just absolutely essential no matter what industry we're talking about. Paid search is also extremely helpful for ROI forecasting. If your business is revenue-based, like the vast majority of businesses are, you want to be able to project out how much cost and revenue you can account for each quarter. Paid search is a really great way to do that because the different pixels placed on your website that tag users with cookies and then see how much did you spend on acquiring that user, how much did they spend on your products or services. It gives you a great model for forecasting and reporting that you might not have had previously. gauging consumer interest. This is a great way to find out not just if your products or services are interesting, but also if they're not. If you roll out a new service line and you find, hey, the way that we're positioning this language just isn't effective for capturing new customers right now, it's really good to know that early on and to make sure that you're able to pivot away from that strategy before too much time, effort, and financial resources are sunk into it. And then essential learning, again, just being able to understand, the user demographics that are interested in your products or services. Where are they located? How old are they? What are they doing when they get to the site? All of this not only informs paid search, but can inform your business as a whole. The next area to touch on is that paid search doesn't stand alone as a channel. So whether you're talking about Google Ads, the text format, Google Shopping, Google Display, this should be considered as part of your entire marketing ecosystem. So what other channels make up that ecosystem? We're talking about social media. We're talking about video, so YouTube in many instances. We might be talking about newer channels like Snapchat and Instagram, maybe Pinterest, Etsy, etc., depending if you're selling products. We're talking about organic search, so search engine optimization. Paid search, in many instances, will just be one of multiple touch points that a user has before converting. So before they buy your product, before they give you a call about a service, typically they're going to want multiple touch points with your brand to establish trust before doing so. I think it's really important, again, to use paid search to try to find that perfect market fit. And in many instances, you'll find that paid search has somewhat of a halo effect on your other channels, in that you are bringing a highly qualified user to your website, and then if they maybe go interact with your Facebook page, maybe they go interact with a blog post, you've gotten them into your ecosystem. This is a user that's highly interested, and even if they don't become a customer that day, they are kind of in the web that you've created to draw in more flies, and over time, more and more of those users will convert, and it becomes a really great cycle. So how do we evaluate success with paid search? We're looking at KPIs, which are key performance indicators, that tell us how many people clicked on these ads. What did they do once they got to your site? What percentage of them bounced off the site? What percentage of them converted into a customer? How many products did they buy in one shopping experience? All of this information can come back and be used to determine what's the lifetime value of a user acquired through paid search? How much are we willing to spend to acquire a new user? How many, recurring customers in terms of a billing cycle are we able to add through paid search? These are the areas that we're constantly evaluating to help our clients evaluate paid search as part of their entire holistic marketing mix, so that it really doesn't just stand alone as a channel. And then we look at it also by industry. So the key performance indicators that help us to define success for a revenue-based e-commerce customer are completely different than somebody looking to drive a new customer for their law firm, their dentistry practice, a wealth management company, whatever it is. We work with the brand to help define what those performance metrics are. And once we have a baseline, we have something to optimize towards and to continue testing new ideas to make sure that customer acquisition costs are exactly in line with what that brand had in mind in the first place. So now that you know a little bit more about paid search, how do you put a great paid search team together? Well, there's a few different options here. Some companies that have the budget for it, they develop an in-house department. Some decide to outsource these areas to a digital agency that specializes in paid search as a channel, as well as others. Some go a little bit more of a cost-effective route and go with a freelancer. A freelancer is really, it depends on the size of your business. A very small business might benefit temporarily for a freelancer, long term, you might want a little bit of a larger team to help with these initiatives. The other side of it is some choose to try to learn these skills themselves. It definitely takes at least a few years to get a baseline in terms of skill development with paid search, but it is possible, and I have seen it done where clients do decide to take on the learning required to understand paid search and then eventually be able to run their own campaigns. You're going to want to definitely bring in an Excel wizard, because the vast majority of work done in these channels is done in Excel, as well as in the actual paid search platforms themselves. So the Google Ads tool suite, the Bing Ads tool suite, the Yahoo Gemini tool suite, etc. So that pretty much wraps it up. If anybody has any questions, please submit them now. I really appreciate everybody taking the time to join us for this Net Plus Digital Minute. My name is Elias Shulkin. And again, please reach out with any questions that you might have. Again, we are taking questions for the next 10 minutes or so, so please reach out if you have any questions. The webinar bar in your bottom right-hand corner can be used to enter those questions in the chat, and I will answer them as soon as you ask them. So Sharon has asked, how much might Google Ads cost? So that's a really interesting question. It completely depends on your industry, your location, and really all of the other factors that go into the price of the bid. One way to sum it up would be to say you're essentially paying for each click. So for example, with Google Shopping, a click might range anywhere from $1 to $4. For a lawyer, a click might range anywhere from $10 to $20. The great thing about paid search is you get to control the input of how much each click costs. The differentiating factor being that the more you're willing to pay for a click, the more of those clicks will eventually become available. So Sharon has also asked to explain more about the auction process. So the way that the auction system works, if I'm going to dig a little bit more into detail on this, each advertiser that wants to bid on a specific keyword creates that keyword within the user interface of a tool like Google Ads. So what you would enter is, let's say, wealth management firm Manhattan. What you're doing is you are bidding on any user that types in that search query or a related search query. So for example, if someone were to type in wealth management Manhattan, your ads will show a certain percentage of the time, and based on what devices you want your ads to show on, where you want them to show, what age, gender, etc. you want them to show to. And again, you're competing directly with other advertisers that are either bidding more or less than you are. So again, if an advertiser is actually bidding more than you, they might win the bid a higher percentage of the time that you will. So it's really a feeling out process. So if you enter the market and you say, I'm willing to pay $5 for a bid, but maybe you're in a very competitive market. So for example, maybe you run something having to do with gambling in Las Vegas, where the clicks are notoriously pricey. Everybody else is bidding $80 a click and you're bidding $5. You'll have a very, very small slice of that pie. Now, on the other hand, let's say you have a lot more resources in your industry and in your area than your competition does. Maybe you can outbid them right off the bat. Typically, we advise our clients to stay in more of an in-between zone where we research and we find out what the costs per click are in their region. and how many customers they can expect to acquire for their monthly budget. So quite a bit of paid search is really projecting, what the actual spend will be, what the customer acquisition costs will be, and then optimizing towards those numbers. Sharon, does that make any sense? If anybody else has any questions, please ask them now. I'd be happy to answer them. Great, thank you, Sharon. While we wait for more questions, some other common questions that are often asked are, what's the ramp up time and how difficult is it to get paid search set up? So when we start to discuss getting paid search up and running for our clients, it really comes down to so much as what are their resources as far as what's their development team got on their plate, how much time do they have to sit down with us and collaborate on a strategy that makes sense with their brand. Typically, we're looking about a 1 to 2 week ramp up period, depending on the size and scope of the program. So for example, if you're a law firm that really just wants to advertise on lawyer near me types of search terms, it's a fairly quick and simple setup process that really takes less than a week. But if you're a very large e-commerce website that, let's say, has 30,000 products, that's going to basically create a much more complex ecosystem that we have to design a data feed for, so that we can make sure to have all of those products up and running as individual entities with their own descriptions, their own images, etc. And we quality test all of it. So that could take more like 2 to 3 weeks to get set up. So that's something that I think is really important, just to understand what goes into the setup itself. All right, last call for questions. If anybody has any more questions at all, I would be happy to answer them at this time. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today for this NetPlus Digital Minute. We will make the recording available to anybody that needs it. And thank you so much for joining. Have a good day.